$50 each. Click, call, or visit a Spectrum store today.
We said we'd never break the 3-second rule. Never do that. And never become a minivan mom.
Hey, Chris.
As parents, we say never a lot, but never happens. So when you say you'd never leave your child in a hot car, know it can happen. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
Good morning, I'm Bree Driscoll, and here's your Spectrum News in 90. Get ready for another wild ride on Wall Street. Stock futures are down this morning. Markets in Asia and Europe are also down, including in Germany, France, and Britain. New tariffs are stoking fears of higher prices, weaker demand, and a recession. The Trump administration insists tariffs will be good for Americans in the end and predicts a resurgence of U.S. manufacturing. Nearly 20 are dead across the South and Midwest from historic flooding. Water levels are rising in some communities, even as the rain moves out of some of the hardest hit areas. The Kentucky River is predicted to crest at an historic high today, prompting evacuations. A state of emergency was declared in Kentucky over the weekend. A federal judge says the U.S. government's decision to deport a Maryland man to a notorious prison in El Salvador appears to be wholly lawless. His family is still reeling from the situation.
The blink of an eye, our 3 children lost their father, and I lost the love of my life.
The judge wants him returned to the United States. The Trump administration has also filed an emergency motion to block the order. And the kings of college basketball will be crowned tonight. The Florida Gators will battle the Houston Cougars in the NCAA Men's National Championship game. And that's a look at your Spectrum News in 90.
Good Monday morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your weather on the One's forecast. Temperatures cooling off significantly across the Central Plains as colder air begins to dive down. We'll have highs in the upper 30s, low 40s across the Great Lakes region into the Northern Plains. And across the southeastern United States, we have one more mild day in store for us. We're in the 90s down in Orlando with a good chance for some showers as our frontal system finally works its way off the coast. We'll talk about that in more detail coming up in 10 minutes.
I'm Bree Driscoll, and thanks so much for joining us here on Spectrum News. Today is Monday, April 7th. Get ready for another wild ride on Wall Street. The fallout from President Donald Trump's new tariffs is crippling world markets this morning and stoking more fears of a recession. The president is once again doubling down, saying he won't back down unless countries even out their trade with the United States. With trillions of dollars lost, the administration says more than 50 nations have reached out to negotiate lifting the tariffs. Our Jenna Enoch is here with a preview of the opening bell. Jenna, what are we seeing from markets around the world right now?
Well, Bree, markets around the globe are really taking a hit this morning. Stocks in Asia and Europe are down, including in Germany, France, and Britain. On Wall Street, Dow futures fell about 1,000 points, or nearly 3%. It closed in correction territory Friday, down more than 10% from its record high in December. The Nasdaq closed in a bear market for the first time in 2022, since 2022, down almost 20% from its record high back in December. Bree?
And Jenna, are we expected to see more tariffs taking effect this week?
Well, on Wednesday, additional duties on products from dozens of countries are set to begin. A universal 10% tariff on all imports started on Saturday. Well, the tariffs are stoking fears of higher prices, weaker demand, lower consumer confidence, and potentially a recession. Last week, analysts with JP Morgan raised the risk of a recession to 60%, while Goldman Sachs raised its probability of a recession to about 35%. The Trump administration insists tariffs will be good for Americans in the end and predicts a resurgence of U.S. manufacturing.
There doesn't have to be a recession. Who knows how the market is going to react in a day, in a week. What we are looking at is building the long-term economic fundamentals for prosperity that I think the previous administration had put us on a course toward financial calamity.
According to the Nonpartisan Tax Foundation, the average American household will pay $2,100 more for goods because of tariffs. It says the import tax will surge 19% this year, the highest rate since 1933. Bree, back to you.
Jenny Enoch, thank you very much, Jenna. In Washington, members of the Trump administration are fending off some skepticism of the president's tariff plan. Meantime, a small group of Republicans are working on an effort to rein in his power to impose tariffs. Spectrum's Angie Gonzalez has more.
On his way back to the White House Sunday, President Donald Trump was asked whether last week's sell-off on Wall Street was part of his broader tariff plan.
I don't want anything to go down, but sometimes you have to take medicine to fix something.
Over the weekend, members of the Trump administration tried to make the case that the markets will adjust amid continued criticism from Democrats.
The long term, the tariffs worked. I mean, the research shows that we had an increase in productivity, increase in jobs, et cetera.
I'll call the secretary. I'd encourage her to come to Minnesota and see everything that she said is not what's happening on the ground.
Last week, Secretary Rollins indicated payments to farmers might be a possibility to offset the negative impact that tariffs may have. But that decision is months away. Right now, some Republicans are looking at a different way of fighting back. Republican Senator Chuck Grassley has introduced a bipartisan bill that would require presidents justify new tariffs to Congress.
I support the legislation that Senator Grassley, Senator Cantwell, we have a total of 7 Republicans in the Senate, and I have some beginning support on the House side.
The legislation, however, would likely still face some considerable opposition in the Republican-controlled House. In Washington, Angie Gonzalez, Spectrum News.
Tariffs are also expected to be part of the discussion when Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visits the White House today. The U.S. slapped a 17% tariff on Israel last week. President Donald Trump and Netanyahu are also slated to talk about efforts to return hostages abducted during the October 7th attack. Israel shattered its ceasefire with Hamas last month and increased its military presence in Gaza over the weekend. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. travels to the epicenter of the measles outbreak in Texas. The trip comes as health officials confirm another child has died from the disease. Kennedy said on social media he visited the state to comfort the relatives of the latest victim. In the same post, the health secretary, who had previously expressed anti-vax views, advocated for the vaccine, calling it, quote, the most effective way to prevent the spread of the disease. Hospital officials say the child was not vaccinated and had no underlying health conditions. Our severe weather threat isn't over yet. Violent storms are to blame for at least 19 deaths. And right now, rising river levels are prompting evacuations. Spectrum's Amber Hughes has a closer look at the damage.
22 million Americans are in the path of severe storms that have swept across multiple states since Wednesday.
One thing that's important to note is it isn't over.
Much of the central United States is dealing with the aftermath of these powerful thunderstorms. Historic flooding causing destruction all over, and the death toll is rising. In Arkansas,
we're just getting a lot of water right now. This affects a lot of people. This has changed a lot of people's lives.
The small town of Hardy hit with nonstop rain until the Spring River spilled over, flooding homes and businesses that can only be identified by the rooftops. Similar problems plague Tennessee, widespread flooding across the state and potential tornado damage.
I just bought this house 2 years ago.
High flood waters taking over roads and highways. Governor Bill Lee bracing residents for the possibility of even more severe weather.
There's continued heavy rain expected with potential tornadoes over the next day or two.
More than 500 road closures in Kentucky because of flooding. Parts of Missouri and Mississippi also dealing with these catastrophic floodwaters. Over the last week, the National Weather Service has issued more than 300 tornado warnings. With debris everywhere, it will take time for residents to recover from the destruction left behind. Even with more rain on the way, some are just thankful to be alive.
It was just like a huge relief that everybody was okay.
Amber Hughes, Spectrum News.
Here on Spectrum News, the women's NCAA tournament has crowned its newest champions. We will bring you the details from the history-making game when we return.
Weather can be beautiful, inconvenient, and at times powerful. And it affects everything we do. At Spectrum News Plus, our weather experts update you with the information and the context you need so you can better plan your day. And we do it every 10 minutes. We're the calm in the storm. Weather on the Ones on Spectrum News Plus, exclusively on Spectrum. And get your weather anytime on the Spectrum News app.
Enjoy, unwind, connect with Spectrum TV On Demand. From the latest hit movies you've been waiting to watch to your favorite comfort shows and more, all available instantly for you to stream. Create the all-around entertainment experience you've always wanted with Spectrum TV On Demand. Browse over 80,000 on-demand titles today.
You're not gonna get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff.
Mama!
Like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Even the mighty might not see it coming. It's prediabetes, and it captures 1 in 3 adults. But you can escape. Take the 1-minute prediabetes risk test to know where you stand and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Be your own hero on smartphones everywhere at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Weather on the Ones forecast. Hope you all had a wonderful weekend. It certainly has been unsettled over the last couple of days with that stalled boundary finally working its way eastward, and it's brought multiple days with severe weather. And that yesterday on our Sunday, damaging wind reports. We had a couple tornado reports across Mississippi, and we've been dealing with some serious flooding in many areas as well. Take a look at the rainfall totals we've had over the last 24 hours, especially across the Deep South. Down into Alabama, Georgia, portions of Mississippi, we've had rainfall totals over half a foot over a 24-hour period, certainly leading to some flooding concerns, and that risk is going to start to work its way eastward over the course of the day today with our current setup as that front finally starts to work its way eastward. And you'll see that with the satellite and radar the last 24 hours, even some snowfall across the far northern portions of the lower 48. And we're going to continue to have that risk for some strong to severe thunderstorms to develop across the southeastern U.S. as we get into the afternoon and evening hours later today. Just a level 2 slight risk, but still a risk nonetheless. And that slight risk stretches from South Carolina into Georgia and portions of Florida as well, and a low wind threat across North and most of South Carolina for that matter as well. Again, damaging winds are going to be the main concern, but we cannot rule out a tornado threat, and the greatest risk for tornadoes will certainly be in that slight risk for severe weather. The timing of it looks to be in the afternoon hours as well, right along the leading edge of that front as it continues to push off the coast of the eastern half of the United States, and it's eventually going to bring some moderate to heavy rainfall across the mid-Atlantic towards the end of the day today as well, and then eventually by daybreak Tuesday morning, we are much drier and certainly much cooler on the backside of the system with perhaps a few lingering showers down across the Sunshine State, but this will continue to work its way eastward, and we're going to get drier conditions in store for us finally. But our weather pattern does look to shift, and we have quiet conditions to look forward to, but our temperatures are going to be much cooler than average, not only across the eastern half of the United States, but in the Central Plains as well. We're going to talk about that and when the next time we can see some more significant rainfall coming up in 10 minutes on your Weather on the Ones forecast.
Here's a look look at what you need to know. Get ready for another wild ride on Wall Street. Stock futures are down this morning. Markets in Asia and Europe are also down, including in Germany, France, and Britain. New tariffs are stoking fears of higher prices, weaker demand, and a recession. Nearly 20 are dead across the South and Midwest after rain brought historic flooding to the region. Water levels rising in some communities, even as the rain moved out of some of the hardest hit areas. The Kentucky River is predicted to crest at a historic high today, prompting evacuations. And that's a look at what you need to know this morning. The top team in men's college basketball will be crowned tonight in San Antonio. The Florida Gators and Houston Cougars coming out on top over the weekend to face off in the NCAA National Championship game. Spectrum's Katie Streit has more.
It was a comeback for the Cougars Saturday night. Now all basketball fans will have their eyes on tonight's game, where Houston will take on Florida. The Houston Cougars beat the Duke Blue Devils 70-67. The Gators defeated the Auburn Tigers 79-73 in their Final Four matchup. This would be Houston's first national title and Florida's third, their first since their second back-to-back championships in 2007. Now tonight's game is set to tip off at 8:50 Eastern Time and 5:50 Pacific. Odd makers are anticipating a close game. Florida is in the slight favorite. Katie Streit, Spectrum News.
And last night, the UConn Huskies and head coach Gino Auriemma won their 12th national championship. It was a fairy tale ending for star guard Paige Bueckers, who was able to cut down the nylon in the final game of her collegiate career.
It's been a story of resilience, of gratitude, of adversity, of overcoming adversity, and just responding to life's challenges and trying to fuel them to make me a better person.
This was one of the more emotional Final Fours and emotional national championships that I've been a part of.
At 71, Auriemma is now the oldest head coach to win an NCAA basketball championship. A unique program at the Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio is helping members of the military and their families. Spectrum's Elise Underwood explains more about the resources that are improving lives.
Noelle Diller is a military spouse, first responder, and the program coordinator for Wright-Pat Connect. Thomas Tyree is a veteran, a former police officer, and the director of the Integrated Resilience Office on base.
This is the most rewarding position that I've ever had.
Wright-Pat Connect bridges the gap between looking for community services and actually getting them. Diller says nothing is really off the table.
If they want us to warm hand them and walk them to that resource or call that resource with them, we will.
They have a problem connecting that day. Well, the NavCare provider calls back. If they tell them, well, I wasn't able to get anybody on the phone was busy. Well, the NavCare connects them again.
The concept phase for the program started 3 years ago and was piloted at several different bases. Now, with 1 year left, Wright-Pat is the only program still up and running.
Wright-Pat, I'd love to say, we've executed it probably the best, had the best results.
Within the past 10 months,
we've had over 100 open cases and over 150 referrals. But with those referrals, there's been 2,200 encounters. So that's us sticking with that one referral and making sure that everything they needed, that they're taken care of.
Diller and Tyree say over recent months, they've seen calls increase as changes take shape across the DoD.
That only makes sense too, because people are a bit fearful of what they may not understand or they don't have control of.
In this time of need, in this time of stress, and this time of anxiety where we don't know what's coming, right? To find peace, that there is live communication, live care navigation for those people.
The hope is for the care to continue, but Tyree says there's work to do.
We've got to get sustainable funding for it to go forward after September. So we're literally looking for maybe state funding or a grant or something.
The cost for the program to continue is just over $230,000 a year.
Even if it's year by year until DOD decides that this is a program that is worth reproducing, and they would fund it. It's a no-brainer to me. to continue it.
Working to continue care for those who serve and their families. Elise Underwood, Spectrum News.
Just ahead on Spectrum News, 2 states are on track to do something no state has done in 45 years. We'll tell you how it could impact your paycheck.
Spectrum News Plus. News from a new perspective, dedicated to refreshing storytelling and empowering communities across the nation. With balanced reporting, providing real context and in-depth coverage 24 hours a day.
Here's a look at your forecast across the country.
Local stories, connecting communities. We are Spectrum News Plus. Streaming now on the Spectrum News app and free with your Spectrum subscription.
Look at this.
Sunshine, lollipops, and rainbows. Everything that's wonderful is what I feel when we're together.
Oh, that was funny.
It's all about connecting with seamless connectivity. And internet customers get one mobile line included for 1 year with Spectrum.
Food isn't just fuel to live, it's fuel to grow. My family relied on public assistance to help provide meals for us. These meals fueled my involvement in theater and the arts as a child, which fostered my love for acting. The Feeding America network of food banks helps millions of people put food on the table. When people are fed, futures are nourished. Join the movement to end hunger, and together we can open endless possibilities for people to thrive. Visit feedingamerica.org/act now.
You're not going to get it all right. Just make sure you nail the big stuff, like making sure your kids are in the right seat for their age and size. Get it right at nhtsa.gov/the-right-seat.
Good Monday morning, everybody. I'm meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Weather on the Ones forecast. Finally getting a much-needed break from the active weather pattern we have been dealing with over the last several days, with multiple days with flooding and severe thunderstorms finally coming to an end once we get past today, as our flood and severe weather threat starts to shift towards the southeastern United States, where we do have a level 2 slight risk for severe thunderstorms to develop. But on the backside of this system, we are going to have much quieter conditions across the lower 48 and much cooler weather to look forward to as well. Temperatures are going to be about 10 to 15 degrees below the average across the eastern half of the country. Our frontal system continues to work its way eastward, even bringing some snowfall across New York and up into the far northern portions of the country. And our severe weather threat will come to an end once we reach the overnight hours tonight. But we are going to see some additional wintry weather up in a place like Maine, through Vermont, up into New Hampshire as well. And you'll see that through Tuesday morning. That morning commute is going to be a little unsettled, with slick spots likely as that snowfall continues to pick up. And then by the time we get towards mid-morning, that snow still sticking with us, and all the way through that evening commute as well. So if you live in this part of the country, another day with some wintry weather on the cards, but this is in and out of here by Wednesday morning. We're going to be drier and certainly much colder, with temperatures well below the average in the far northeastern half of the United States. But overall, though, snowfall totals will range highest in some of the higher elevations, of course, especially up towards Maine, where we could easily see 6 to 8 inches up in the mountains. And then even into portions of New York, we could see 6 to 8 inches of snowfall as well, but generally around 4 to 6 inches at the very most in many of those locations. But aside from that, as far as liquid precipitation goes, we're really not expecting much this week. I mentioned a big time change coming to our weather pattern, and you'll notice the lack of rainfall that we are going to be seeing across the central portions of the country and even into the eastern half as well. Minimal rainfall totals expected, around 1 to 2 inches at the very most, with today's setup as that front finally pushes off the eastern coast. Let's talk about our temperatures, though, because they are going to change quite a bit. We're at 75 today up in the Raleigh area, 87 down towards Tampa, and as that front finally works its way off the eastern coast, we're going to see a dip in our temperatures. We'll be in the upper 30s, low 40s across the Great Lakes region, dropping down into the 50s and 60s in parts of the southeast after dealing with temperatures in the 80s over the course of this weekend. So we're going to be running about 20 to 30 degrees cooler than where we were over the weekend, and we'll stay above the average in the central U.S., but the eastern half of the country is going to be running below the average. So cooler weather sticking around, but by the time we get towards the weekend, our temperatures do look to improve and get much warmer.
Lawmakers in Mississippi and Kentucky have both recently begun the process of eliminating taxes on worker wages. Governors of both states signed legislation aiming to gradually reduce the state's personal income tax rate. So far, only 8 states have successfully removed the tax. The last state to eliminate its income tax on wages was Washington in 1980. According to Florida's Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission, the odds of being bitten by an alligator in an unprovoked attack in the state is roughly 1 in 1.3 million. But recently, one woman willingly put herself in the path of a gator to save her dog. Here's Spectrum's Melissa Eichman with more.
You're gonna be okay. Well, you are. Kimberly Spencer comforts Kona after surgery. The family rescued the lab mix about 8 years ago. But this week, rescued took on a whole new meaning.
I hope she understands that she'll be okay, and we hate that she's in pain. We would never let anything happen to her.
Kimberly kept that word to her pet Tuesday.
I'm always afraid of gators, snakes, you name it. I'm not a nature girl.
Those fears went away, said Kimberly, when she and Kona encountered an alligator during their regular walk in the Westwood Lakes neighborhood in Hillsborough County.
We went down. I didn't see anything I needed to be worried about. Then all of a sudden I heard a noise, and I looked over, and then 10 feet in, you could see I saw its eyes, and I saw it turn.
Kimberly says a gator about 6 feet came at them quickly.
It had its mouth open. It was like a thing like that, and then finally it clamped down on her, and it got her. So this part was in her mouth. So I jumped on its back and pried its jaws open.
Kona was freed from the gator.
Once I got her out, I clamped its jaws shut and was holding on to its jaws, its mouth shut.
Kimberly says the gator went back into the water, and she and Kona got medical attention. While the two heal from their wounds, Mom says they'll stay in the gated area from now on and urges neighbors to do the same.
They need to know to stay away. Don't go near them. Don't feed them.
Kimberly now concentrates on Kona's recovery.
I wasn't letting it take my baby. That's it. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if something happens to her on my time.
Not on her time, says Kimberly. She and others who live nearby say it's normal to see gators in the ponds here. The FWC does have some tips as these warmer months mark mating season. In Tampa, Melissa Eichman, Spectrum News.
The Washington Capitals' Alex Ovechkin broke Wayne Gretzky's record for the most goals in NHL history. The 39-year-old Russian superstar scored his 895th goal of his career Sunday against the New York Islanders.
This is something crazy, and I just said it, I'm probably going to need a couple more days or maybe a couple weeks to realize what does it mean to be number one. But all I can say, I'm very proud.
Now get this, Ovechkin surpassed the record even after missing 16 games in November and December because of a broken left leg. Wayne Gretzky says he's really happy for Ovechkin. Gretzky still holds more than 50 NHL records. I'm Bree Driscoll. Thanks so much for watching. Your Spectrum News in 90 is coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.
I tell my son, I love you every single day. Now, my dad has never said that to me. Not because he doesn't love me, but because culturally it wasn't comfortable for him. Now that he's a grandfather, he says, I love you to my son every time he sees him. My advice to all the fathers out there, forget the cultural restrictions. They grow up way too fast for you to waste even a single precious moment.
It's game time at the arena, and 20,000 fans are looking for a win. With an ultra-high-speed network and seamless Wi-Fi, fans can get in the door fast and share the game's best moments in real time. And with Spectrum Business committed to keeping them connected 100% of the time, they won't miss a second of the action. A secure, reliable connection from Spectrum Business means the fan experience is a guaranteed win.
Sometimes in life, in order to move forward, it helps to look back.
To learn from the pioneers and trailblazers.
To gain inspiration from those who came before us.
To show us what it means to act with empathy and to show that love has no labels.
Join WWE and Love Has No Labels throughout the year in celebrating people from all communities and heritages.
Because when love has no labels,
that's a love we can all fight for.
Women are bad with money. That's what the world's been saying for centuries. But now we've got something to say.
Save it. It's time to save ourselves by saving our money.
Until we're no longer 80% more likely than men to live in poverty in retirement.
Save it. The falsehoods, the feelings of fault.
Then, the funds. Learn how to save for your retirement at WeSaySaveIt.org.